That's a beautiful song.
Kate Wolf. Kate Wolf.
Ah,
Yeah. It was
very, very pretty.
Isn't the running up the hill lady?
I don't know.
So, as I shared with you last Sunday, I'm going through some of the transcripts of my talks that I have done for 30 years. And so I'm pulling out some of my favorites. And for the month of February, the series, what did I call it back then? For the Love of Self. For the Love of Self. And I would say if I had one central message in the years of my ministry, it is self-love. Knowing what that is and maintaining it. It's so important. So I used to have a picture of a poster hanging in my office many years ago. And it was a beautiful butterfly. And the caption underneath it said, "You can fly, but that cocoon has got to go." Now, I've never seen a butterfly with a cocoon attached. So I started thinking about butterflies. A couple of years ago for Easter, we had our butterfly release, and it was a bit chilly. So they struggled a little bit, which is why we haven't done that since. You know, the butterfly starts out as a little tiny egg on a leaf. And it starts eating. That egg hatches a little tiny worm that we call a caterpillar. And the caterpillar's primary job is to eat and eat and eat and eat so that it grows. And as it grows, it sheds its outer skin several times until it gets to maximum strength. Jesus told us to, unless we become like little children. So I'm going to ask you to be a little kid and imagine you're that worm. And you're eating, and you're eating, and you're eating. And what is it that you're eating? All your book studies, all the talks you listen to, all the things that you feed yourself of a spiritual nature so that your understanding expands and your life gets better and better and better. And then comes the time when you are maximum. You have been seeking, asking, and knocking, and it's time to find now. You're no longer a seeker. You have embodied all of your spiritual beliefs and incorporated them into your life. So the caterpillar begins to spin a cocoon around itself. And this is kind of like a womb. Look at it like a womb, because something is happening. Now, many of you may know this, but what happens once the cocoon is complete, the worm inside starts to digest itself. Yes, it digests itself and turns into goo, just a liquid protein goo. But interestingly enough, there are some cells that don't get digested. And these are the blueprints for the antenna of the butterfly, the eyes of the butterfly, and other vital parts. And it's these cells who start eating, living off of that liquid protein until it becomes a butterfly. Now, the butterfly has to get out of there. And it's a struggle to break through that silk little cocoon. There's a story, I'm sure many of you have heard this too. There was a man walking along, and he saw a cocoon lying there on the ground, and there was a butterfly in the process of emerging from this cocoon. And in his compassion, he took out his little trusty knife and very surgically slit open the cocoon so the butterfly could come out. And the butterfly came out, strutted around once or twice, fell over and died. And he was totally baffled by this. So he was telling a friend about what happened. And the guy said, well, you interfered with the process. That struggle was necessary for the butterfly to gain the strength to be able to fly. So I've always liked this metaphor because in our struggles, it is strengthening us if we let us, whatever it is we're dealing with. Because our struggle, our cocoon, is thinking that we're only human, thinking that all of our experiences define who we are, and we need to break through from that. So we try to find our divinity in the middle of hell on earth, in the middle of all that we're juggling and facing, where is my Christ self now? Where is my divinity? And in that struggle to be free, we are strengthened. Last Sunday I talked about a little baby being in the crib crying because he's hungry and mama doesn't come, and the assumptions that are unconsciously made. As little children, we are at one with what is. We are at one with the world, and it's natural, and we have no separation. But then, as we begin to gain experience, we start preferring this over that, and we begin the process of creating duality. And the biggest duality is that of our conditioning, what we will do to get approval, our conditioning versus our natural loving selves. I've long thought that one source of our suffering is when we put a lid on this still small voice inside just to gain approval from other people. So somebody's spouting off their opinion, and they'll say, don't you agree? Don't you agree? And we may say, sure thing. When deep inside we know, no way do I believe that. But we don't speak up. And I've also known that if you don't share authentically who you are in a loving way, you're not contributing to the creativity of the collective. You are unique. I am unique. And we can have differing opinions. And actually, that's great. Diversity gives rise to things we wouldn't normally even know or think about. Self-love. Love yourself enough. Trust yourself enough to put out yourself. Share yourself. We all get challenged. Oh boy. Tell me about it. We all get challenged. What can we do about it? First thing, we have 5 basic principles here in Unity, and a while ago I talked about what they were. They're hanging on the wall in there, in case you don't know. Take a picture of it. 1 presence, 1 power. I am an individualized expression of that. What I think matters because it's creating my reality. Prayer and meditation helps me let go and center and go deeper to my awareness of my spiritual self, and I put all that into action. It is foundational to everything I think, say, and do. That's number 1. Number 2, thing to do. What I'm giving now is what I'm receiving. Meditate on that throughout your day. What I'm giving now, I am receiving. As we give, we receive. So if I am judging, I'm being judged. If I'm condemning, I'm being condemned, if only by the vibration of my own rotten consciousness. What I'm giving now is what I am receiving. So the next time I feel so inclined, to use an expression I grew up with in the South, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. The next time I'm inclined to think that way, I'm going to see a cornucopia of diversity. Things that have the power to nurture me if I will just accept them. And then the third thing is, say grace. Boy, I used to be real self-conscious to pray in public. Especially at a restaurant, But you don't have to say a word, just a consciousness of appreciation. And this is an aside. I didn't plan to share this, but I'm going to share it. I had a licensed teacher at my former church in Virginia. He's no longer on the planet. That man taught me about Dr. Hawkins, David Hawkins, one of my primary teachers. He taught me a lot of things. But in teaching me about Dr. Hawkins, there's a kinesiology, muscle testing, for what is true and what isn't. So we'd be having lunch together, and he would say, it came to me in meditation that you were Nefertiti. And I went, really? And he said, yes, and I was Ramses. I'm going, oh, really? And he said, yes. He says, put out your arm and repeat after me. I was Nefertiti. I was Nefertiti. And this is in the middle of a crowded Italian restaurant in Oakton, Virginia. He had a physique like Santa Claus, and he'd always put his napkin right up here under his long beard, and it was a good thing. I will say this, that man taught me unconditional love. I grew to love him so much for all his quirkiness. He was so generous with his love for me. It was easy to love him back. And then, speaking of love, self-love, how many of you can look in the mirror and say, I love you? All right. It is kind of weird, isn't it, to do that? We're taught not to do that. That's conceited, Well, it depends on which you are you talking about. Are you talking about the socialized, conditioned you? Or can you see past all of that to the divine self? That I can do. That I can do. Not, you look marvelous today. It's not about that. It's not about that. Have appreciation for yourself. The challenges you have, the challenges you face every day, the ones you've overcome, and leave that cocoon behind. Our purpose is to be transparent, so that when Jesus said, if you see me, you see the one who sent me. That's true for us. That's our purpose. To be so transparent that the love of God is obvious and the vibration of peace is high. And there is absolutely no doubt about being at the right place at the right time. That's divine order. So, I want to close with another story. And there may be an addendum. I've got 5 or 6 pages here that I'm not reading. This was written by Robert Fulghum, and it's called The Mirror, and it's pretty short. Dr. Papaderos, what is the meaning of life? The usual laughter followed, and people stirred to go. Papaderos held up his hand and stilled the room and looked at me for a long time, asking with his eyes if I was serious, and seeing from my eyes that I was. I will answer your question. Taking his wallet out of his hip pocket, he fished into a leather billfold and brought out a very small round mirror about the size of a quarter. And what he said went like this. When I was a small child, during the war, we were very poor and we lived in a remote village. One day on the road, I found the broken pieces of a mirror. A German motorcycle had been wrecked in that place. I tried to find all the pieces and put them together, but it was not possible. So I kept only the largest piece, this one, and by scratching it on a stone, I made it round. I began to play with it as a toy and became fascinated by the fact that I could reflect light into dark places where the sun would never shine, in deep holes and crevices and dark closets. It became a game for me to get light into the most inaccessible places I could find. I kept the little mirror, and as I went about my growing up, I would take it out in idle moments and continue the challenge of the game. As I became a man, I grew to understand that this was not just a child's game, but a metaphor for what I might do with my life. I came to understand that I am not the light or the source of the light, but light, truth, understanding, and knowledge is there, and it will shine in many dark places only if I reflect it. I am a fragment of a mirror whose whole design and shape I do not know. Nevertheless, with what I have, I can reflect light into the dark places of this world, and to the black places in the hearts of people, and change some things in some people. Perhaps others may see and do likewise. This is what I am about. This is the meaning of my life. That's it.